when Martell Holt looked Nell in the eye and said, "That's a slap in my face." It wasn't just another reality TV meltdown, it was years of pride, pain, and betrayal exploding in one moment. What really pushed him over the edge? Tonight, we uncover the truth behind the outburst that changed everything. Martell Holt has finally hit his breaking point, and this time, it's not just another on-camera argument meant for ratings. When he lashed out at Nell, calling her behavior a slap in my face, it was clear to viewers that something far deeper was brewing beneath the surface. What exactly pushed Martell over the edge this time? Was it betrayal, jealousy, or a more personal wound? With Martell, anger is never simple, and this latest eruption on Love and Marriage, Huntsville has set off shockwaves that could shift the entire dynamic of the show. Few reality stars know how to command attention quite like Martell Holt. His charm and confidence have always made him magnetic, but his short fuse keeps fans on edge. He's known for speaking his truth, no matter the fallout. Yet this latest confrontation with Nell feels different, intense enough that fans are questioning whether Martell has finally reached a point of no return. What began as a seemingly harmless misunderstanding quickly spiraled into a heated confrontation that left both cast members and viewers stunned. When Martell accused Nell of disrespect, calling her actions a slap in my face, his tone made it clear this wasn't just another dramatic TV moment. Was this outburst just for the cameras, or was it rooted in something far more personal that unfolded behind the scenes? Tonight, we take a closer look at what truly fueled Martell Holt's emotional explosion on Love and Marriage, Huntsville. We'll explore what triggered his reaction, how it's rippling through the cast, and why fans believe this moment could permanently change how everyone sees Martell. Because this isn't just about one fight, it's about pride, loyalty, and the fragile boundaries between friendship and betrayal. Before we dissect the confrontation itself, we need to rewind to the weeks of tension leading up to it, pressure that few realized was even there. Long before Martell's public outburst, emotions had been quietly simmering beneath the surface. What the audience witnessed on screen was merely the eruption of a storm that had been building for some time. Martell, never one to hold back when he feels slighted, took Nell's actions as a personal affront. It wasn't merely something he disagreed with, it cut into one of his deepest values: loyalty. To truly understand why this moment hit so hard, you have to consider where Martell is emotionally right now. After enduring public scandals, a highly publicized divorce from Melody, and the uphill climb to rebuild both his image and his personal life, Martell has been walking a fragile line between redemption and regression. He's been trying to prove that he's grown, yet moments like this reveal how thin that line can be. According to insiders, the spark that ignited the feud happened during a group outing where Martell expected solidarity from those closest to him. Nell, often seen as the show's peacemaker, made a choice that Martell perceived as a betrayal. To outsiders, it might have seemed trivial, but for Martell, it was about principle. And when his principles are challenged, everything else tends to unravel. From Martell's point of view, it wasn't just what Nell did that cut deep, it was how she did it. And even more importantly, who she did it with. Many fans believe Martell's reaction traces back to his lingering trust issues. Scars left by years of betrayal and public scrutiny. After being accused of dishonesty and manipulation in the past, Martell has grown hypersensitive to anything that feels like disloyalty. So when Nell's actions appeared to align her with someone Martell viewed as an enemy, it ignited a fire he couldn't put out. Social media quickly split into two camps. Some fans sympathized with Martell, saying his anger was understandable given how many times he's been hurt. Others argued that he overreacted, accusing him of projecting his insecurities onto people who had moved on. Yet, regardless of perspective, one truth was impossible to ignore. The moment Nell crossed that invisible line, whether intentionally or not, something inside Martell broke. The relationship between Martell and Nell has always been layered. Though they've maintained mutual respect, there's long been an unspoken tension over loyalty and boundaries. Those close to Martell often say he expects the same unwavering loyalty he gives, and when he doesn't receive it, he takes it personally. Once that trust is fractured, Martell doesn't simply withdraw. He confronts the issue head-on, often publicly. So when Nell did something that he viewed as public disrespect, staying silent wasn't an option. By the time the cameras caught the confrontation, emotions were already at a boiling point. Martell's body language told the story before his words did. Tense shoulders, a locked jaw, and a piercing stare that spoke volumes. The rest of the cast could feel it too. What was supposed to be a calm conversation quickly spiraled into an emotionally charged face-off that no one saw coming. But what made this clash So intense was that it wasn't really about Nell alone. Martell's explosion was fueled by something deeper, emotional baggage from past pain and lingering resentment. What looked like a sudden outburst was actually the breaking point after weeks of quiet frustration, side remarks, and swallowed pride. When the moment finally came, the air turned heavy. That kind of silence that hangs just before a storm. The cameras rolled, the cast sat still, and everyone seemed to know something big was about to happen. Martell's calm demeanor felt dangerous, his voice low, his expression locked in focus. Nell, perhaps unaware of how much this situation had wounded him, tried to keep the peace in her usual calm way. But the more she tried to explain, the more it sounded like justification, and that only fueled his anger. Then came the moment that shifted everything. Martell leaned in, his voice sharp yet measured, and said the words that changed the entire energy of the room. That right there. Nell, that's a slap in my face. The words landed hard, not only on Nell but on everyone watching. It wasn't just an accusation, it was personal, heavy with emotion. In that instant, Martell wasn't a reality star performing for cameras. He was a man confronting betrayal from someone he trusted. Nell froze. Her eyes widened, caught between disbelief and hurt. A slap in your face, she asked softly, searching for clarity. Martell didn't waver. He stepped closer, maintaining his composure but speaking with raw intensity. He told her that what she did didn't just disrespect him, it undermined him in front of people who already questioned his integrity. The frustration poured out of him like it had been building for months, not just about Nell, but about the endless criticism, the rumors, and the constant narrative painting him as the villain. He'd had enough, and in that moment, Nell's actions felt like confirmation of everything he'd been trying to rise above. As tensions rose, other cast members tried to calm the situation, urging them to take a breather or talk privately, but Martell wasn't ready to step back. His voice, steady but charged, cut through the air as he pointed toward Nell and said, "You don't understand what that did to me?" And in that single moment, it became clear this wasn't just about a disagreement. It was about trust, pride, and the pain of feeling misunderstood by someone who was supposed to be in his corner. "After everything I've been through, everything I've been trying to rebuild, you still went and did that." With those words, Martell's frustration came into focus. This moment wasn't just about a disagreement. It was about trust and perception to things he's been desperately trying to restore. For years, Martell has fought to reshape how the world sees him, as a father, as a businessman, and as a man striving to rise above his past. Every move he makes is watched, analyzed, and often criticized. So when someone close to him appeared disloyal, it hit harder than it probably should have. Nell, visibly shaken, tried to explain her intentions. She said she never meant to disrespect him, that her actions came from a place of goodwill, but Martell wasn't in a space to hear reason. His emotions had already taken control. To him, the why didn't matter, only the what did. "After all we've been through on this show," he said, his voice unsteady but firm. "After all the talks about loyalty and having each other's backs, you still did that. You don't understand how that looks. That's not just embarrassing, that's betrayal." As the cameras zoomed in, you could read the emotion written across both of their faces. This wasn't acting. Martell wasn't performing for the audience, and Nell wasn't being defensive. What unfolded was painfully raw to people caught between friendship and disappointment. Reality television had slipped into real life, blurring the line between storyline and emotion until no one could tell the difference. Other cast members, like Kimmy and Maurice, exchanged uneasy glances. No one knew whether to intervene or let the two hash it out. In the background, whispers filled the air. "This is about more than last night." And they were right. What we were seeing wasn't just about a single incident. It was the eruption of everything Martell had been suppressing: resentment, pride, hurt, and the deep fear of being misunderstood once again. Then, the tone shifted. Nell finally spoke, her voice soft but steady. "Martell," she said gently, "I didn't do it to hurt you, but if you felt that way, I'm sorry." It was the kind of apology that could have cooled the fire, but Martell wasn't ready to let it go. His defenses were still high. "It's not just about sorry," he shot back. "It's about principle. It's about knowing where we stand. Because when I see someone I trust move like that, it makes me question everything." The room went silent. Everyone seemed to hold their breath. Even fans later said they could feel the tension through their screens. Social media exploded within minutes. Some viewers defended Martell, saying he had every right to confront Nell after everything he'd endured. Others argued that he was overreacting, turning a small misunderstanding into a personal attack. But one thing everyone agreed on was that this was one of the realest, most emotionally charged moments in love and marriage, Huntsville history. When the confrontation ended, both Martell and Nell seemed changed. They walked away quietly, carrying not just what had been said, but the weight of what hadn't. The bond between them would never fully recover, and while the cameras eventually stopped rolling, the emotions didn't. For Martell, the argument didn't bring closure, it cracked something open. In the days that followed, those closest to him noticed the shift. His anger didn't fade, it lingered, deep and quiet. He wasn't just upset with Nell's actions, he was wounded on a level that went far beyond the surface. Later, in a private moment that never made it to the main episode, but surfaced through behind-the-scenes clips and fan chatter online, Martell finally explained what really pushed him over the edge, and when he did, it became clear that his outburst wasn't simply about betrayal. It was the result of years of emotional exhaustion, rejection, and feeling unseen by the very people he trusted most. Martell began by describing where he's been mentally. Since his highly publicized divorce from Melody, he's been on a mission to rebuild, not just his reputation on television, but his identity as a father, businessman, and man striving to grow. He wants to prove that he's more than the mistakes people associate him with. Yet, despite his efforts, he confessed that every step forward seems to be met with a reminder of his past. "Every time I move one step ahead," he said, "something or someone drags me 2 steps back." So when Nell, someone he viewed as neutral, even supportive, made a choice that seemed to align her with people who had once hurt him, it cut deep. It wasn't just disappointment. It was a trigger. "You don't know what that does to me," Martell said quietly, staring at the floor. "When you're trying to change, trying to prove yourself, and someone you think is in your corner does something like that, it feels like confirmation that nobody really has your back." That statement resonated with many longtime viewers who followed Martell's highs and lows. Beneath his confidence and bravado, they recognized a man who often feels isolated, someone for whom success can be lonely. When your reputation speaks louder than your intentions. Martell explained that Nell's action, though small, made him feel invisible. It wasn't about the act itself, but what it represented. Another reminder that people still don't see him the way he wants to be seen. He's been fighting to prove that he's evolving, that he's learned, changed, and is working to make amends. Yet moments like this reinforce a painful belief that no matter how hard he tries, people still view him through the lens of his past. "It's like no matter what I do," he admitted, "people already made up their minds. They still see the old Martell. And when someone I trust feeds into that, it feels like I'm fighting a losing battle." It was rare vulnerability from Martell, who's often guarded and proud. Behind the tough talk and composure lies a man who's been publicly humiliated, dissected, and criticized at every turn. Every decision he makes becomes a headline. Every misstep, a new reason for people to doubt him. And while he's not without fault, moments like this reveal someone who's yearning for understanding, not just forgiveness. Close friends have said Martell's struggle with pride and control comes from his fear of losing respect. That's why even small signs of disloyalty hit him so hard. They reopen old wounds of being abandoned, mocked, or misunderstood. And this time, that trigger came in the form of Nell. Most fans believe Nell meant no harm, but in Martell's eyes, it wasn't about a single act. It was about a pattern of people claiming to support him, only to make choices that publicly embarrass him. For someone trying to rebuild his image, that kind of moment feels like a betrayal of trust on a deeper level. After the cameras stopped rolling, Martell reportedly confided in a fellow castmate, "I don't even know who I can trust anymore." He admitted a statement that perfectly captured where his head was. In a world filled with cameras, gossip, and ever-changing alliances, trust is fragile. Every friendship feels conditional. Every word can be turned into a storyline by the next group scene. That emotional weight was still visible. Martell wasn't loud or confrontational. He was quiet, distant, carrying a heaviness that even the cameras couldn't disguise. Castmates tried to lift the mood, but the damage lingered. He stayed composed, but his silence said more than his words ever could. That weekend, social media erupted. Fans flooded Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok with reactions. Many felt for Martell. "His pain runs deeper than what we saw," one user wrote. "You can tell he's fighting more than just Nell, he's fighting himself." Others saw the same moment differently. Some argued that Martell still hadn't learned to manage conflict without letting his emotions take over. "He says he's changed," one fan commented, "but this still looks like old Martell energy." Still, the moment struck a nerve. Viewers debated whether it showed growth, regression, or simply human vulnerability. For some, it was proof that Martell's fiery reaction stemmed from integrity, from caring too much about loyalty and respect. "We all have breaking points," one popular YouTuber said. "Martell's just human, and this was his." Meanwhile, Nell faced her own wave of public scrutiny. Though she remained composed and tried to calm the confrontation, viewers couldn't agree on her role. Some accused her of subtly provoking the situation, while others defended her, insisting she was simply caught in Martell's emotional storm. Nell didn't do anything wrong. One fan tweeted, "She was just being herself," and Martell's pain took over. Behind the scenes, sources close to the cast confirmed the tension didn't vanish when the cameras cut. Martell reportedly met privately with several cast members, explaining why the moment with Nell hit so close to home. To him, it wasn't about one person's choice, it was about a lifetime of being misjudged, undermined, and humiliated in public. Friends say his intensity often comes from a genuine place, but when the lights are on and the cameras are rolling, that sincerity can come across as something else: dramatic, defensive, or volatile. Yet for those who truly know him, moments like these aren't about ego, they're about a man wrestling with his past, desperate to be understood in a world that rarely gives second chances. Producers were reportedly uneasy about the fallout. Reality TV may thrive on conflict, but there's a fine line between drama that entertains and emotion that truly wounds. According to insiders, several closed-door meetings took place after filming to make sure the cast could find common ground before cameras rolled again. Martell's representatives advised him to take a step back, to process, not react, and to avoid saying anything that might turn the tension into a lasting fracture. Ironically, the confrontation that worried producers ended up breathing new life into the show. Viewer interest skyrocketed. Ratings spiked the night the episode aired, while hashtags tied to Martell and Nell trended across social media. Bloggers, podcasters, and YouTube commentators picked apart every detail: tone, expression, body language. Memes flooded timelines, and the moment quickly became one of the most discussed scenes in Love and Marriage, Huntsville history. But behind all the noise, the real story unfolded away from the spotlight. Friends say Martell took the incident to heart. He spent days reflecting on what happened, not just what was said, but how it made him feel. In private conversations, he admitted that while his anger was raw, it wasn't entirely unjustified. "I know I could have handled it differently," he reportedly said, "but at the end of the day, I can't pretend my feelings don't matter. My feelings are valid, and sometimes, you've got to stand up for yourself." That reflection seemed to mark a quiet turning point. In the episodes that followed, viewers noticed subtle shifts in Martell's approach. He was still outspoken, still confident, but there was a measured tone to his words. An effort to communicate rather than confront. Those close to production said he'd made a conscious decision to balance passion with restraint, aware now of how quickly a reaction could shape public perception. The ripple effect extended beyond Martell. The confrontation changed the energy of the entire cast. People who had previously stayed neutral suddenly found themselves pulled into the conversation. Friendships were tested, alliances reevaluated, and every interaction seemed to carry a new tension. Fans began speculating that the aftermath of this moment would echo throughout the rest of the season, fueling new storylines, unexpected emotional reveals, and maybe even some overdue reconciliations. Then came another twist. A leaked behind-the-scenes clip surfaced online, an unfiltered conversation where Martell shared his side in even greater depth. In it, he spoke about his family, the weight of his past, and how moments like these affect him far beyond what the cameras show. The clip went viral almost instantly. For many fans, it was the first time they'd seen the man behind the persona, not the confident reality star, but a human being wrestling with his emotions, trying to navigate the fine line between vulnerability and reputation.